A legendary Monday afternoon to you, to all summoners there who are watching. Settle old rivalries or maybe make new ones here at the Rift Rivals GPL, OPL, and of course LJL. 3 major leagues fighting it off for supremacy in the Summoners Rift. We're gonna be your shoutcasters for this game. I am Shinbu with the one, for an I, and my partner here is Coach Arctic. Ladies and gentlemen, as we head on to our first match. Now looking into our schedule, what we have here is actually Oceanic Pro League versus our very own Garena Premier League.
Man, oh man, it's gonna be a very exciting game that we have there.
Yes, and what are the teams that actually will be representing? For us, we got Garena Premier League. What we have here is
basically we have for each region we got the top 3 teams, of course, first, second, and third seed respectively from each region. So for the first seed, as we see in our schedule right here, it is actually going to be the first seeds, Gigabyte Marines from the GPL versus the Dire Wolves of the OPL.
So first seeds versus first seeds.
Yes,
very interesting matchup here. Now do take note that of course we're very familiar with Gigabyte Marines making such a very nice run in the playing stage for MSI, right? Securing, we owe a lot actually to Gigabyte Marines.
Definitely.
Securing a GPL slot into the League of Legends 2017 World Championships. But of course, you cannot disregard. We are also a wildcard region, but of course, you cannot disregard the talent that comes in from the Oceanic Pro League, mainly from their top seed, Dire Wolves, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we're just gonna wait up before we load into the drafting. But what are your thoughts so far here in the Rift Rivals?
Well, it's very interesting. I really like the format that they went with Rift Rivals, in the sense that, sure, you have all these first seeds. You really have to work as a region here. It's not just you as a team anymore. So let's say we're talking about GPL, wherein we know for a fact that Gigabyte Marines, one of the really strong powerhouse teams, they definitely proved themselves as of the last MSI. But the name of the game here, it's all about the regions here. So it's not just Gigabyte Marines that needs to pull the weight, but as well as Ascension Gaming and Mineski for the GPL. And same goes for the other regions. It's not just about the first seed, second and third seed. Everybody across the board has to perform in order to attain the glory of winning the Rift Rivals for this particular Rift.
Oh, you can see our players there preparing for their fight. As we head on to the first agenda for the day, those are players from the Oceanic region, ladies and gents, along with their coach, of course, the team, Dire Wolves. And as we mentioned to our viewers there, we are mentioning a lot of teams here, right? We got Ascension Gaming, Gigabyte Marines, Mineski for GPL. Of course, you got Dire Wolves as well, right? And other teams as well coming in from the OPL. And the interesting part here, along with LJL as well, okay, is that they're fighting here as a team, okay? Teams fighting as a team. Like you got Ascension, you got Gigabyte, you got Mineski representing the whole of GPL. Of course, 3 teams as well representing OPL along with LJL as well. The interesting part here is that the region who would win or will come out on top of this Rift Rivals, okay, division or cluster, is that we'll get that golden Rift Rival icon.
Oh yeah, that would be very good. So of course, if you guys want to get in, if ever we do win, of course, as a region, be sure to grab your icon, whichever of your favorites one, just one IP.
Yeah.
And then just equip it, play a game, and then if we're lucky enough to pull off a win here in Rift Rivals, then we'll get that golden. It's pretty good actually.
Yeah, be sure to support, of course, your respective regions. Of course, whether you are from for GPL, for OPL, and for LJL, because those are going to be limited edition icons.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Only one out of the 3 regions would be getting that golden RR icon, and I do love the swag here that Riot is putting in for the Rift Rival. This new tournament actually that we have here. It's the first time that we have this concept of Rift Rivals beating off all teams actually,
True.
It happens not just here for LJ, OPL, and GPL. It also happens for the likes of LCK fighting LMS. If I'm not mistaken, you also got Korea on that cluster. Of course, EU versus NA for the cluster as well of the Rift Rivals. And all for the purpose of bragging rights.
Yes.
Right?
The glory.
Who is Who is the better team? Who is the better region?
Man.
It's all about rivalry. It's on. Hashtag it's on.
And you know what's interesting here is that these regions coming together, like we mentioned, GPL, OPL, and for LJL as well, they're rivals in their own regions respectively. So for them to have to be teammates in a way, representing the region, that's actually going to be a very interesting dynamic here. So from rivals locally in their own respective regions, going into the like a stage higher where they have to go up against other regions as well, but together representing GPL, OPL, LJL. So, you know, we'll just have to see if this will actually translate to all three teams managing to carry out their weight and bring glory to their respective
regions. And I'm very curious in seeing the other regions. How do they play the game? Because we've always been curious. Of course, we are Filipino casters here. We've always been curious about seeing the play of the likes of... We've been curious, now we're very familiar actually with the playstyle of Gigabyte Marines, of Indonesian teams from Thailand, Vietnam. Of course, we're very familiar with our own local meta here in the Philippines. But of course, I'm very curious what's the meta in Japan. They're saying that there are a lot of Velcos players there. You know, seeing the performance. No, I know that running joke, but of course, their performance as well in All-Star, right?
Right.
In All-Star. And of course, I'm curious as well, what's up with the Oceanic Pro League, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And what are their approaches with the game?
And this is the perfect opportunity, not only for just the audience, but even the teams for themselves that are in Rift Rivals right now, you know, to potentially scout out who might be major competition if ever they're lucky enough to proceed to what will eventually be Worlds later on in the next few months.
Yes, aside from the juicy bragging rights that you can win here in Rift Rivals, I think the lesson here, an invaluable lesson that can be picked up by the teams as well. This is what's so good about Rift Rivals. As you mentioned, this is a nice opportunity on fighting other regions. Win or lose, it's always a plus for a certain team.
Definitely.
You know? To know certain metas, to know certain what's ups. If ever, what are the specific approach for example for OPL and for LGL into League of Legends, and also exposure, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, not just exposure in the sense that you get your team name out, but exposure in general to the international scene, wherein, like you mentioned, these guys get to witness all the different playstyles coming in from different regions. And you know, it's great because when you're one of the teams participating in this, and even as a spectator, you know, even as viewers right now, we get an inkling as to how these different play out their team strats, their communication, to an extent, you know, just how they play, and maybe, you know, we could learn a thing or two from each other.
Yes. Now, I'm just curious, Archie, the front guy of this Rift Rival tournament is gonna be Vi and Caitlyn.
Yeah.
You know, we've been familiar actually with this rivalry. I thought at first it was Caitlyn and Jinx who were rivals, but you know, I believe it would be fitting if it was Vi instead of Caitlyn, because they have like really ragtag approach when it comes to, like, for example, for Vi,
right?
Yeah, you have this very punch-in first sense of justice,
exactly,
right? Whereas for Jinx, you have this. Of course, there are V-lanes in League of Legends, right? But for Jinx, it's just crazy V-lane thing that you got going on, right?
Yes.
But for you, what kind of rivalries, other rivalries in League of Legends do you you're familiar with, or do you
Wow, you know what? There's so many, but to be honest, one of my favorites, it's probably one of the more obvious ones, but it's just so classic. It's the Battle of the Freljord, where you have the Everrosans, the Frostguards, the Sandra Ashe, and Sejuani. I really like the concept that they went for.
That's a lot of champions involved, though.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's like, it's not just those three, but then you have to connect like the Braum and all these different champions.
You got Lissandra versus Ashe, right?
Yeah, there you go.
You got Tryndamere versus Trundle, you know, right? But for me, I think what I love is actually the recent one. I was a big fan of the Noxus. Because you brought it up, you know, because you brought up groups here. I was a fan of the Noxus and the Master Rivalry, especially more on Noxus. Not much of a fan of the Piltover and Zon rivalry. And I don't know what's up with Shurima. If they are really rivals with the place where Aurelia came from. Right. There's this new map as well coming in, introducing the animal hybrids. You know, that map where Saya and Nakan came from, and even Ari, Vistaya, as you mentioned. But one of my favorite rivalries actually was the recent one, Yasuo and Riven.
Oh,
the legendary versions, right?
Yeah, and of course for our region, it was Yasuo that came up on top. So I don't know who you voted for, but I'm pretty happy myself because I'm on Team Yasuo all the way.
I was originally on Team Yasuo, but there was a bad change, I think, for Kha'Zix. Now I keep on spamming Kha'Zix a lot, and yeah, despite actually putting some fluidity buffs on Riven, it's still Yasuo that won.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, he's just that popular. He's just that popular. no 10-ban system can stop Yasuo.
No.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, before we head on to our game, we're gonna show you a clip featuring the Rift Rivals. It's on.
This is not a game, don't take me lightly. Brain cell from insane, bring the pain like nothing nice be. The last thing you see when you fall asleep. And then the whole city now you messing with me. Nobody, you want it, you got it, and good. Get it, you got it, talking and living. Mess around and get 2 fists for Christmas. I don't play, do the deed and get away with no scrapes like I'm OJ. Riding reckless. I'm about this money, putting checks on my checklist. Might jack your necklace, might smack this water. You may go hard, but we go harder. So if it's on the song, might see me banging on my chest like I'm king. Okay, what the problem is, mess around and try to rumble with the problem kids. King of the jungle, screw the talking and the politics. You wanted a leader, okay, now follow this. Run for help if you wanna, I'ma put it on your slow, sitting like a freight train. None of this earth, we are not the same. When my crowd to the side say hi to the king.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I really love that
jamming,
video.
yeah.
That jam, you know, it's so like, yeah, we're here. Rift Rivals, ladies and gentlemen. And what's so interesting about that video is that, as we mentioned, there's this NA versus EU, there's this Korea versus China versus LMS. Rift Rivals is happening all around the globe. You can see the X marks there, you know, and the whole map of the world, actually. So you can actually check out updates as well, what's up, what's happening on the rivalries between different regions as well, not just here in OPL, LJL, and of course GPL. And I really love that first line from the song. This is not a game, don't take me lightly.
There you go.
What? Holy cow, man.
It literally resonates.
Literally resonates in every Riot video, in every event, in every esports moment that happened here for League of Legends.
Absolutely.
Well, this is a game. But for us, it's more than just a game.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's more than just a game. And indeed, don't take us lightly.
No, not at
No,
all.
don't take us lightly here, ladies and gents. And we just got word that there are some technical issues happening there in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. That's actually the venue for our fight for today. Imagine, you know, we got Japanese teams coming into Vietnam as well as teams from the Oceanic region going there. So I want to mention that we're gonna proceed on a short break. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, GPL Gigabyte Marines versus OPL's Dire Wolves. Who do you think will win? It's time to settle old rivalries, even make new ones. It's on, ladies and gentlemen, here at the Rift Rivals.
There we go. Of course, the bans being thrown off back and forth by both Gigabyte Marines and Dire Wolves, as we are going to be seeing a Varison and Ash banned out from Dire Wolves, as well as the Galio and Zac going to be taken away. So actually very distinctive here. So first two bans coming in from Gigabyte Marines, a lot of respect for King coming in from Dire Wolves. And then of course the other side, it's actually much more diverse, much more meta-oriented. Both the Galio and the Zac, we have seen how strong an impact both champions make for the games that we've been seeing thus far. And technically, I actually like the logic here for Dire Wolves banning out these, even the Kennen as well, because these three champions, technically for Gigabyte Marines, they're so great at playing to the meta that to not ban them is almost like asking for a death sentence.
Yes.
So no surprise at all.
Very true, as you mentioned. Galio, Zac, and even Kennen. And I'm just really curious here. First set of bans coming in from Gigabyte Marines would be the Varus and would be the Ash. Certain emphasis on the ADC position. The first pick actually here is on Gigabyte Marines. They're actually depleting the ADC pool here, which would allow Dire Wolves to actually secure an early Caitlyn. Paired with the Rek'Sai here, I'm really curious, what is the pool here by No Way? No, available ADCs here. If I'm not mistaken, we got the Twitch, we still got a Vayne. I'm not so sure about Jhin. If Jhin is a good pickup for this game because Ash is already banned, right?
Indeed.
I'm not so sure if it's Kalista. Alright, it's a Kalista. Alright,
Yes,
so
indeed.
we have a Kalista. Alright. So no Jhin, no Twitch, a Kalista. Very interesting. Now I'm curious what will be thrown here by the Gigabyte Marines. So interestingly, again, we got a Rek'Sai from Dire Wolves. Recent changes on Rek'Sai would be leaning her on Rek'Sai on becoming a more like an assassin champion, really, instead of a tank. And rather, it's gonna be a classic combo. It is actually the guy who entrapped Lucian's wife. You know, sometimes people mistaken Kalista as Lucian's wife. Thresh. Alright, so we got a time catch here. Little is to be revealed actually.
Yes.
Here. Top lane and mid lane are still available pickups for both of these two teams.
I'd say for Dire Wolves, it's definitely a little bit more sound, a little bit more, well, actually even for both sides. It's just that looking at Gigabyte Marines, especially now with Archie back in the top lane.
Yeah.
So this will actually be an interesting dynamic.
I was
we're
actually
gonna
curious. I
see.
thought Nivan was going to be the one playing
Yeah.
here. But yeah, he's back at top lane. And of course, you got No Way here. You know, going back to Vietnam.
Yeah, there we go. And regardless, you know, what I really like about this is that looking at this, the Gragas, the Kalista, the Thresh, there's just so many things right off the bat that you could see that going into these clashes, Gigabyte Marines is just going to go skyrocket. You know, there's a lot of things that Dire Wolves has to look out for, and knowing how Gigabyte Marines plays, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, they really get things going, even with just these three champions. So I'm actually interested in seeing how they'll be tying this up going into the second pick phase.
Very true. We got the Zed here removed against Optimus. I'm not so sure if that should be enough. Renekton as well doesn't want to be get picked here by GAM as by Dire Wolves. So I'm really curious what would be in the top lane. They're going to be putting Corki here in the mid lane. The patch they'd be playing in, I'm not so sure if it was the patch wherein there's a weird update on Corki.
Yeah.
Increasing his attack ratio or redistributing his attack ratio to 75% magic damage instead of 50-50.
Exactly. And, you know, overall, looking at the draft that Dire Wolves has thus far, you know, there's definitely a lot more safety both with this Corki and the Caitlyn here, as opposed to the Gigabyte Marines. Especially, there we go, the Lee Sin actually being locked in. You know, they're really in it to win it.
Yeah.
Once they go initiate, things are just going to explode. And Dire Wolves are actually interested in seeing how they'll be responding to this going into the game with the draft that they have.
And so far, Gigabyte Marines flex is being ignored here by Dire Wolves. Last pick here by Dire Wolves would be the top lane instead of the mid lane. Okay, that would allow Gigabyte Marines for Optimus to actually picking quite a safe mid lane champion here, which is Victor. And the top lane is going to be played in by Fiora and Gragas. It would be quite a challenge actually for the Gragas
Indeed.
fighting a Fiora.
But speaking of which, it's interesting that we're seeing both Victor and Corki. I'm getting flashbacks of one of the previous seasons wherein Corki mid was actually still very much prominent. So with the changes that they've made, hopefully we might be seeing him making a small comeback. But then again, we'll just have to see how that ultimately manifests as to how Corki will perform. Because the meta this time around, it's actually very interesting. There's been a lot more creativity with how teams have been playing out their drafts. So ultimately, this is actually a great measure with Rivals here to measure all of that out.
Well, I'm pretty sure this is the update where the Corky's attack has been raised a bit, and of course, I think attack speed, if I'm not mistaken, it's really the ratios that I'm really curious, especially on how will you build resistances against this Corky. I'm really curious as well, because it seems that there's a visible lack of durability here from these two teams. What I want to mention here is Gragas could translate into a very clear tank, but on what direction? Will it be magic damage or will it be 80 damage? My guess it would be resistance against 80 damage.
Right.
Okay, so gonna be ignoring the magic aspect of Corky here, because Rek'Sai actually is nerfed down. The tank Rek'Sai has been nerfed down, and it's just like being leaned more on becoming an assassin. Assassin Rek'Sai. So I'm really curious what will be the outcome of a prolonged fight here, if ever we're gonna be getting prolonged fights. My expectations here would be like explosive fights, explosive short fights. But one thing's for sure, Gigabyte Marines would not want the Fiora to have a comfortable time in the top lane. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are now live in the Summoner's Rift. This is the first match of today's episode for Rift Rivals, played between Garena Premier League's Gigabyte Marines versus Oceanic Pro League Dire Wolves.
Yes, there we go. So looks like both sides already locked into the Rift. Let's go ahead and see who will be the first to bring supremacy and bring them one step closer to bringing glory to their region. Is it going to be the Peeps, the first seed from the GPL, or will the Peeps from Oceania actually...
First seed from Oceania as well. Dire Wolves, ladies and gents. So for the pickups here are very, very interesting, reflective or patch 7.12. Could see here what could be the early pickups of items here. Of course, classic Doran's ring. Doran's shield, rather. Even in the mid lane, Fantic's gonna be picking up the Doran shield, no?
Yeah, it's Doran shield definitely been one of the rising one of the surprise items that we've been seeing from these type of champions, but with very good reason because of the new mechanics that the Doran shield has.
I think the biggest buff here in the Doran shield is not necessarily, they say that it's the regeneration. Oh yes, you get nice regeneration, but it's actually what balances it out is the added damage.
I agree.
Yeah, added damage to minions. Like the difference between Doran's blade and Doran's ring is only 3 damage. But on top of that, you only get like 8%. What is 8% lifesteal in early game?
Yeah, there you go.
Right? 8% of 16, that should be around 4 health per hit. But of course, you get like flat regeneration in Doran's ring, whether you hit something, whether you hit a minion or not. Not to mention that on-hit regeneration as well.
Definitely.
That you get whenever you get hit, you get regeneration as well from Doran's shield. So nonetheless, first that is here. You got a Death Sentence connecting onto the Caitlyn. Lots of damage here, but Exos is put down onto No Way as Destiny would just be licking his way into the ADC of GAM. No first blood yet, but 2 summoner spells popped in this bottom lane. Rather in this blue side jungle here, Levi running for his Shenfire. Do take note that the Q has improved damage, especially when you're on borrowed form, but it's already been casted, so yep, back away.
Yeah, both sides actually really picking up the heat early on. Actually, we're only in 3 minutes into the game, so really interested in seeing how this will eventually manifest, because we're definitely seeing a lot more proactivity. But then again, it's very much understandable. These are the 2 first seeds from both regions, so to be honest, I'm actually not as surprised at the same time. So whether or not we'll see something later on that'll eventually manifest into a first blood, that's actually something I'm really looking forward to seeing. And who will be getting that first blood especially?
Very true. It's not actually 2 summoner spells that just burn the bot lane. It's just the exhaust on Destiny. That's gonna be big, really, if ever, for the side of Gigabyte Marines, because they have a very aggressive jungler.
Definitely.
You could actually get a side burst rotation from Levi, and capitalize on the lack of that exhaust against Dire Wolves.
Yeah, but even at the same time, for the Rek'Sai, Shenfire as well, all because of the burrowing mechanic for Rek'Sai right there, it also makes in for a very... could actually be much more sneaky, whereas opposed Lee Sin needs to have that resource to connect to. in order to go for these plays. But yeah, regardless, both junglers, like, I really like that you brought that up, because either way, both sides, we're definitely gonna be expecting a lot more action, a lot more creativity with these two.
Yeah, I think they actually spotted Lee Sin here, Levi, on that red ward there by the mid lane. There are actually pings now here in the bot lane, trying to take command if ever they would go. Maybe that's just my guess that they may try to go for the tri-brush dive on dire wolves, but that is already cancelled here as Levi would actually just go for his Krugs. So status of the map here is actually side lanes are getting shoved in favor of Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah, Gigabyte Marines really putting on the pressure here. Although at the same time, this doesn't really give Levi. Well, I actually like it at the same, because this does allow Levi kind of the opportunity to power farm a bit to get a foot up onto Shemfire. But then again, at the same time, it goes the opposite way, as with these lanes pushed out, it actually also gives Shemfire as well much more opportunity to get some ganks on with this Rex side.
Of course. Every shove is a threat
Exactly.
for the team. So they should have a nice idea of where the Rek'Sai should be. And that's my guess. Actually, with those pings Levi's put down in the bot lane, he is actually keeping tabs on the Rek'Sai and constantly relaying that to the team. That's what makes a good jungler is. So right now, we are only in the 8k gold mark here as the first 5 minutes of the game pass by. Triple Doran's ring on Archie here. So I'm very certain that this is definitely patch 7.12 and not 13, as the Doran's shield, the Doran's ring stack is still available.
Yes, there you
still
go.
not a unique passive.
So Archie really want to keep up to par with Chippies here on his own damage that he could exert. But then again, of course, at the same time, he also gets that extra health, the mana regen as well. So, but there we go. We actually have Shemfire in the vicinity. We'll be seeing something.
Do take note that Levi as well would be entering the top lane. Shemfire shows himself first, connects the empowered Q here, knowing that Archie actually went for the re-engage with a level 6 ultimate, not connecting. It's all quits now. Darwolves would fall back.
Man, I really like the coordination coming here from Gigabyte Marines, and even the respectiveness to Shemfire here, because if he continued to commit even just for an extra second or two with Levi in the vicinity, that actually would have probably been much more dangerous for Direwolves right there. But still, a lot more safety. No first bloods just yet.
No first blood. But of course, do take note of the deficit here. That's one full wave lead there by Archie, commenting as well on Noe's lead. 58 against 50, if you compare that to King. So let's see what would the answer here of the team from Oceanic Pro League. So far, it's like the mid lane is actually a standstill. There is the Sheen available on Fantix.
Indeed. So there you go. But looks like both top laners actually went for the back. Ooh, an attempted hook coming there from Sai, but looks like won't be getting the connect though for the meantime.
Indeed. So for a game, this early game falls heavily on the junglers.
Exactly.
Yes. Really curious what would be the movements here of Levi. Levi has been very iconic with his plays actually back at MSI, if I'm not mistaken. No, and now what we got here is the second rotation of the big buffs we given now to Fantix here. Items. Considering the items, not much to be revealed. We're actually thinking of GPs might be aiming on building that Tiamat Ravenous Hydra.
Yes, indeed.
But went for the Vampiric Scepter first. No? Very interesting.
Yeah, granting a little bit more sustain, but also look at the damage though output onto Archie. But then again, that is a lot committed. But still, Chippy's definitely emerging a little bit more on top right there. Of course, this is something that it's pretty standard, I'd say.
Yeah.
There's nothing really much going on for Chippies right now, but later on, definitely, especially since it's very equal, he's definitely going to get a lot more fuel going with this VR.
The problem here is delaying your Tiamat would just, prompt Archie to just keep on shoving and shoving. This is a triple Doran's ring, Gragas. All you need to do is just barrel roll body slam.
Right.
His way to like range minions or even to the minions itself. So you would always expect the Chippies would be farming under his tower. That's a nice ward there. Okay. Could be predicting Levi's side brush gank. But this is actually a counter gank setup.
Yes.
Just waiting if ever Sharon Fire would be in the top lane. So right now, that information, Levi recalling in the top lane, that should be a signal that Fire should be in the bot lane.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's see what could be the adjustments here. Rather, there's actually a shove in the top lane, and Fire also predicted that Levi might be there, so he actually went for the Cloud Drake. Such a nice read on the map here by the jungler of Direwolves.
Yeah, it's really all about having that jungle sense, kind of predicting the movement of your own enemy jungler to just kind of adjust to that. So let's go ahead and see, though. That will be the first Dragon Drake.
Nice.
Actually soloing that. So taking it like a champ right there. But then again, this is the somewhat reworked Rek'Sai, so I'm actually not surprised. So
yes, jungle is a chess game.
Yes,
jungle is a chess game, and that chess game, 8 minutes into the game was won there by Fire. Nice read on the map. I think Archie's shove in the top lane was too obvious, or maybe it's just that Fire really knows how to read the map, or at least before Archie would be shoving the top lane, there should be a ward at least in the DR. Every time that on that certain region of the map, the jungle is not available, you should swap it out with a vision.
I agree with you there, because if you're gonna look at it, things are so equal. We're 10 minutes into the game, not a single but holy.
Yes, there's a flash in Flay. The Bucks did not connect Zoe onto the Tam Kench. Even the Death Sentence won't tag him, despite the Sonic Wave. So lots has been burned there. Sass, flash for flash, support for support is the target here. So much, not much. Do take note that these are only supports, and if you compare the two, Thresh and Tam Kench, still should be the Thresh that should continue going for the pressure.
I agree there. And it's interesting because this is definitely truly telling, but Chippies and Archie actually
he
going at
got
it
no
together.
mana though. He got no mana, so I really doubt he'd continue for it. Go for it. Do take note that explosive gas is not is not yet used here by Archie. But let's see what should be the setup here. Optimus is as an idea. There's no vision actually on this side brush, but he might have an idea that Fire is actually hiding on that brush as well. Okay, very interesting. So we just got I think a few technical difficulties for our stream. We'll have that checked by our team, but so far, I'm not seeing any complacency. From these two teams. That's my conclusion.
It's very interesting because this is truly a game where you can see the reason why these two teams are the first seed of their respective regions. Again, nobody's being complacent. Everybody taking the extra precautions necessary. It's not like other games that we might have watched wherein let's say a top laner would overcommit to going 1v1 when in fact the enemy jungler is already there. So I really like how both sides really taking their time and taking even the smallest objectives, very equal, but taking whatever they can, whether it be CS or even that dragon take coming from Fire right there.
And no hesitations to actually delay their reactions, especially that flash in there by the Thresh. That's actually a positional mistake there by the Tam Kench. But of course, should have an idea that that's actually the power as well of the Lee Sin and the Thresh lantern pickup. So if you beam the range, Thresh would be flashing in, puts the play on you, plus the lantern. That should be dangerous. Good response there, or rather good instinct there by the Tam Kench to actually flash out. That's actually the biggest action that we've seen on that game. As we mentioned, these two teams not being complacent. Every movement is still calculated. So we're just curious what would be the outcome. My guess is for the next explosive fight, it would be a teleport.
Perhaps, yeah.
It would be a teleport play. That's just my guess. Might be a tower dive by Gigabyte Marines.
There you go. Especially, this is kind of the trend where we're seeing the sudden 4-man gangs towards bot lane, leading into a teleport. So maybe that, indeed, I actually agree with you. Especially since things are so silent so far.
Yeah, because what would happen is Chippy's picking up. She got Vampiric Scepter, right? So no Tiamat. She'd always get shoved. So all Archie needs is to back out. Then the bot lane, Thresh and Kalista's always been shoving as well. The bottom duo of OPL here of Direwolves. So what would be a nice setup, especially Lee Sin is very capable of actually climbing that blue buff side of Direwolves. Go for a flank on the Tri-Brush. Then teleport lane. Explosive Gas would be such a nice skill to actually reset that fight if things doesn't go well, or even pick up one champion.
I agree with you right there. Like I mentioned, if we're going to look at everything with Gigabyte Marine's composition, very explosive. There's so many tools that they could use to really sway a 5v5 in their favor. But then again, at the same time, looking at the composition that Direwolves has, a lot of safety with the Corki and the Caitlyn to just kind of poke from the back line while the rest kind of do their magic. They have that Rek'Sai, Fiora as well, especially if the Fiora becomes a threat later on. And then they also have that Tom Kench for that extra precautions if ever any of the members do converge onto the more squishier targets of Direwolves.
But Fiora has to watch out as well.
Yes.
Against the Victor. Okay, if you consider actually the composition here of Direwolves, Caitlyn is okay, you know, facing Victor. She's got the range to actually secure the waves, clear the waves. But of course, it's very likely it might be a static shift Caitlyn, might rush the Infinity Edge. We don't know. One thing I'm sure is it won't be the Runeon's Caitlyn because of the nerf. So there's a limitation now on the wave clear of the Caitlyn. What we got here is the mid lane as well. In the mid lane, Corki has decent wave clear.
Oh yeah.
But if you compare that to Victor, it's so very different. Victor only needs one skill, the laser, to clear fill waves. Whereas Corki would need two. The Gatling gun and of course the Phosphorus bomb, right? So if you account for all those conditions, there's lots of nice kit here for Gigabyte Marines to shove in the members, not just in the lanes but also during field fights of Direwolves. Now we are back in the game, ladies and gentlemen, and it's time. Actually, it's already 1-0, and the first blood was secured by Levi, killing the Tom Kench.
There you go. You know, Tom Kench.
Wait, sorry
Sure.
Look, Archie has teleport on cooldown.
Oh.
Might be a I'm just saying. Even though we did not see it.
The predictions.
Yeah, that's just my guess. It was a teleport play.
But yeah, I mean, regardless, it's definitely something that manifested towards the bot lane. And, you know, with things going on for Levi, it definitely gives him a lot more room. As we have been championing, we've actually been talking about this yesterday during the collegiate stream, wherein these players from Vietnam, they have, for some reason, they have such an abundant pool of fantastic junglers. So putting that kill onto Levi definitely grants him a lot more room, a lot more pressure. But here we go.
Fate's call on this one. Play connected. The Bucks did not, as the Devour is put in here by Destiny. He gets kicked out. But Levi has the predictions for the Sonic Wave. Resonates in for the kick and a kill against the Caitlyn. It's just a matter of time for Destiny as the 2-0 is laid out here by Gigabyte Marines in the ball lane. Two members are set in the top lane. RG gets punished. The man with a beer would be walking out. On top of the grand challenge, he will fall. And it's 3-1 in our scoreboard of First Blood Turret, still in the hands of the Gigabyte Marines.
Man, finally picking up the action, both Gigabyte Marines and Direwolves. But then again, at the end of the day, you know, I'd say definitely Gigabyte Marines. Like you mentioned, they got the kills, they got a lot more kills, and then they got the first turret to boot. Although unfortunately it couldn't translate to a dragon, but still definitely a job well done by the Vietnamese team.
And Levi is crazy.
Absolutely, you know.
I mean, that was an insane prediction by the Sonic Wave.
That was well calculated as well.
To actually predict where will the Devour land, or where will the Tamkins bounce out the Caitlyn.
Again, this is like world-class jungling that we're seeing right here, but still, nonetheless, of course, we do have 3-1. Still, anything can happen. It's still very even as far as the gold, if we're going to take that into consideration. Only 600, so still not really resulting into anything huge. But then again, like I mentioned, it's Levi that Direwolves have to look out for here. 100% kill participation, getting full, being the reason pretty much for why Gigabyte Marines has these all 3 kills. So we'll just have to see.
And Levi's looking forward to Snowball.
Oh,
more.
Yes.
That is a Giant's Bug. It's quite a weird item to see in the Lee Sin, but this is perfect for this fight. I'm going to be expecting a lot of tower dives coming in from Gigabyte Marines.
Definitely.
And you know, that added health would give Levi more durability, actually more health. Turret shot. So let's see what will happen here. So you can see that the bottom duo of Gigabyte Marines is set now in the top lane. That is of course predicted by the Direwolves as they have to cover ground from there. And that lane, actually Ravenous Hydra is completed by Gypsy, so she would have a hard time really freezing this lane.
Oh yeah, actually,
okay.
Like, because with that, you don't really have an option to proc that up. So it'll ultimately result to pushes. But here we go, we have a fight.
Another death sentence here, this time on the Referral beat. First would be Destiny, next is the Jungler. 2 Mantis here gets removed coming in from the Direwolves. Let's see, rather insects on a toad. Let's see here, Archie would be body slamming into his death. Sonic Wave puts the vision on Pandix. There is Gypsies responding coming in from the bot lane. And the 4-man squad here of Gigabyte Marines, they're actually scouting. They can make a peek. Right now, crowd control is only in the hands of Shah, and I don't think he has a clear shot for that sentence.
Man, oh man, good on Gigabyte Marines, actually able to stop that Rift Herald and they're sieging this mid lane turret.
Another death sentence coming in from Shad. Homing death sentences, that is just crazy. That is threatening as well.
Man, the accuracy absolutely insane so far for this Thresh. And again, definitely manifesting for Gigabyte Marines. Finally, you know, we're definitely seeing a lot more power, a lot more dominance, a lot more control. Actually, even the predictions are on point. You know, clearly not wanting to give out that Rift Herald to boot. So definitely a great performance being put on here by the Vietnamese. But then again, I do want to take note for Direwolves at the same time, the hope and the prayer, the salvation that they could potentially capitalize on. Again, one of the champions that I've kind of been worrying about here might be Chippies on this Fiora. 2-0-0. So like I mentioned, if you get a Fiora going slowly, we have seen how Chippies has been going up head-to-head with Archie. So now that he's 2-0 up, we'll just have to see if this might something that Gigabyte Marines can deal with later on.
That is true. Very true. Right now, there's a visible lead here by Gigabyte Marines. But if you look into the itemizations, the itemizations here of Direwolves is very threatening. Those are big power spikes. You got a Phage now on Fiora. Had it been that there's no Phage there and only Boots and Ravenous Hydra, it could have been a nice match, but hold that thought. As you can see, the 2v1 here, this should be big for Gigabyte Marines. Misses the kill, that should be punishing for Levi, and no way gets picked off in the top lane. This fight has been dragging on too much. Does Archie have the body slam here? No respawn may come in. Let's see if Gypsies can actually queue out. Puts in the repose, but still managed to survive. Not quite. Levi gets another kill. It's 3-0-1 already for this jungler.
Man, might have taken a while to take down Chippies, but then again, still, Gigabyte Marines actually doing a great job here. But then again, Direwolves as well, this does open them to potentially taking the Rift Herald. So still, regardless, this will put them still on even playing field.
And Direwolves can still answer. Can totally answer big time. Because those are big spikes, as we mentioned. Right now, that Phage adds more durability, movement speed. It should be a problem. It's the only one click again on building that Kindle Gem, and a few clicks to go and a few gold away in building the Black Cleaver. There's an inherent run on a Fiora. That's not behind. Fiora, you know, going even with Fiora is not enough for Gigabyte Marines. They have to put that Fiora behind right now, because it will come to a point. I really doubt Gragas can 1v1 a Fiora.
Definitely. I mean, it definitely showed earlier. That was already 2 people on tour.
That's already 2 people. So there should be a change in playstyle here by the Gigabyte Marines to like force towers here. Maybe 5-0 tower. That's just my guess here. Because once this Fiora has the Black Cleaver and starts split pushing, it is a very, very punishing situation for Gigabyte Marines. Not to mention that Fantix already has his Trinity Force. Now building on his next item, Zeal.
Yes, there's definitely a lot more pressure on Levi here to try to really try to figure out what he wants to prioritize, who he wants to try to keep up to par with Direwolves, especially now that they've been starting to attain their spikes right here.
Yes, and look at that. You seen the Rift Herald actually sent in the mid lane. That is not good. Rift Herald was picked off by Direwolves as well. So that should be big for the OPL team, because that means Gigabyte Marines cannot 1-0 a lane. They have to cover the lane first because of the Rift Herald. Quite cleared fast by Optimus and Levi, but that puts the tower score in the mid lane even. 1-for-1.
There you go. But still, very interesting though. I mean, again, 20 minutes into the game, there's still no definitive lead yet. Sure, we could definitely peg it onto Gigabyte Marines. They're up a few gold. But regardless, like you mentioned, Direwolves, there's definitely so many threats that they have to work with right now. And we have seen that was already both Levi and Archie earlier converging onto Chippies, and it took them quite a while. If anything, Levi himself almost became a casualty. So imagine just how much more deadly Direwolves will be once they're actually grouped up together.
Yeah, so let's see. Archie goes all in on Chippies. But Archie would, rather Chippies would back out, knowing that the Lee Sin will be around. Levi's actually rotating for the bot lane, and Archie managed to tag in Chippies. It's another 2v1 situation. They're not allowing this Fiora to get his Black Cleaver. That allowed Levi to get a rampage, ladies and gentlemen. So that's how it's done. As much as possible, no late game split push for you, Fiora.
Exactly.
Right now, the situation earlier, around the 20-minute mark, had it been that there's an Infinity Edge on King, I would dare say Direwolves would have the lead for this game. But right now, if Gigabyte Marines continue to read this game properly, the way they're doing it right now, keep on ganking Fiora, keep on doing 2v1s on Fiora, especially with the added armor with the Deathman's Plate by Levi, pair that with Archie, then it should be no problem. Because once they kill the Fiora, they could just, again, 5-0 a lane.
Indeed, and if you're gonna look at things, I really like how Gigabyte Marines is playing this out. You know, I mean, particularly for both Archie and Levi, really on Chippy's case right now, definitely don't want to put him into any position where he could be that salvation that I've been speaking of for Dire Wolves right here. And again, it's hitting two birds with one stone. Not only do they set Chippy's behind, but then again, it only asserts Levi's dominance as to really getting the action on here. But looks like Archie might be in trouble.
And Archie might be the one receiving the 2v1. Make that a 3v1 as the Devour will deliver. King on this one. King actually receives the body slam. There's the trap. He gets rooted. He sits on that one. Gets the crits and gets the kill coming in from GPs.
And this might actually result to turrets being traded off across.
It'll be a trade. But if they actually manage to kill Shenfire here, no, Shenfire would back out. I was thinking of, you know, the battle's actually close.
Oh,
close,
right.
But yeah, they have to answer that split, that tower to be destroyed. Rather, what would happen here is the bottom duo of Direwolves would recall leaving the tower on GP. So they still the plan. Direwolves still sticking to the plan because they know that will work. Late game split pushing Fiora.
Yes. You know, it's just all about making sure that they don't fall off too behind and allow Gigabyte Marines that opportunity to just kind of emphasize their own strengths by taking down, like getting those small pickoffs to slowly establish a lead right here. But still, we've been talking about leads. No clear lead just yet. But then again, like you mentioned, if you're going to peg it on to who is kind of at the optimization right now, it's definitely on Direwolves.
It's definitely on Direwolves. If I'm going to recommend another item on Direwolves, I would recommend, well, there's a Trinity Force. The problem is the Shin procs. If I was thinking of like an AP itemization on Fantix, because right now lots of armor is being invested here by Gigabyte Marines. So Fantix, it would be nice for Fantix to, I don't know, I might be mistaken on this suggestion, Void Staff, actually. Capitalize that 75 damage. Yeah, 75% magic damage ratio on his autos. But nonetheless, he would want to get, of course, nice item, Rapid Fire Cannon. Get that extended range just to allow you to get your Shin procs early. So
I actually agree with you there, because if you're gonna look at it, no, I actually like that Gigabyte Marines. If you're gonna be looking at it, a lot of the players for Gigabyte Marines are definitely leaning towards the armor, which actually makes sense, because if you're gonna look at a lot of the damage that Direwolves deals, definitely leaning towards the physical. But like you mentioned, that Void Staff, it could potentially be a possibility, because it, without the magic resist to really protect Gigabyte Marines right now, like you mentioned, really take advantage of the spikes that Direwolves has right now.
Corki has a very nice kit. He has the Valkyrie, he has this burst, he has this poke, right? But there's one thing that is always being overlooked on Corki: the hybrid build on him, the penetration. If you actually review some of the guides actually available there for Corki, that's always on his first description. It's very hard to itemize defensively against the Corki because he has hybrid damage. Not the same way as Jax, really, but like literally could like put AP on him and that would still reflect on his damage. For this situation, you could observe there's the Gauntlet on Archie, there's Deadman's Plate on Levi. That's just my suggestion. Right now, if you could see there, what might be the next item of Corki? He got a pickaxe. So my guess there might be Infinity Edge. Alright, the crit build. But that can easily be countered by maybe a Randuin's or even a Thornmail from Levi. Actually, that Deadman's Plate already counters it. So
I mean, just the armor build up.
Why not reinvest on magic damage? Just a little suggestion.
A little bit of flexibility,
and like try to penetrate that defense that Gigabyte Marines is doing. Because right now, Gigabyte Marines, what they have right now for this game is actually their mechanics and their good rotations. I still believe they have a slight better read of the map compared to Direwolves, especially with Chippies getting caught out in 2v1 situations.
I agree, yes.
But the problem here is it still doesn't stop Chippies. 24 minutes into the game, still has that Black Cleaver complete. That is already too threatening. All the Chippies need now is one defensive item. And she should like steamroll on one lane. Maybe a Guardian Angel. I don't know. But for this situation, let's see. Lots of pressure actually. Lots of eminent pressure is being built up here against Gigabyte Marines. It might come to a point that what could be a nice solution here in favor of Gigabyte Marines would be a very nice team fight with
Speaking
Optimus. Optimus stepping up. Let's see here. No, we got a free hit here, but this is too awkward. They're actually fighting high ground here. Let's see on the flanks here. You got Fantix here. They have to back out. They have to read this properly. They have to find a way of landing that very nice gravity field. Plus the Chaos Storm. This is too awkward. This is too dangerous. That's 2 tank members. Chaos Storm with the 2 targets. There's also the gravity field. Might be the choke point that they're looking for. And Destiny gets popped here. The time catch. The time catch might be the hole that Gigabyte Marines is looking forward to, as time catch is not that durable for this late game. Now they got a death sentence on King as well. What is happening to the Caitlyn? Members of the OPL Direwolves getting plucked out by the Gigabyte Marines one by one. No casualty coming in from Gigabyte Marines, and that is exchanged for 3 members of the Wolves.
Wow, that was amazing. Just when you thought that Direwolves actually had it in the bag, you know, they were really going for the offensive, going for the chase onto Gigabyte Marines. But once Gigabyte Marines found a perfect time to exploit how Direwolves was just kind of committing to their own respective targets at some point, went for the reverse, went for the counter engage, and that was absolutely amazing. Gigabyte Marines will be getting the first inhibitor of the game.
Well, nonetheless, as I mentioned, it's a 5-0. A 5-0 on a lane. That's what would allow Gigabyte Marines to win, because they have such a nice kit for team fights.
Agreed.
It's just that I think Destiny has the miscalculation of reading his durabilities.
Yeah, let's go ahead and check out that replay though. What's interesting here is that you'd really think that Gigabyte Marines is in an awkward position because they're actually kind of stuck together in that jungle part here. But then again, this is what I'm talking about, the division between Direwolves right here. They weren't quite decisive on what targets they'll be going for.
Yeah.
And as a result, since the rest of the Direwolves, they were kind of not on the same page as to which target they want to go for. That was the go signal for Gigabyte Marines at that point. Really just going on. And look at this. Beautiful hooks coming in left and right.
And something's blowing up here in the bottom pin. It's on! It's on in the bottom pin. But of course, it's off already for Cheapies and Churnfire here. Do take note that King has a low life. Can they make a miracle play? Can they get a kill? That is the battle secured by Levi. But that is also Archie going down in the hands of Fantix.
Man, this is a classic, almost world-class pro game that we're seeing right here. Again, you know, that's that calm before the storm that we've been seeing within the first 10 to 20 minutes of the game. And once these sprites started exploding, it just went all out for both sides. But then again, at the end of the day, the dust has settled. Gigabyte Marines definitely in a better position right now.
And I take it back earlier that Destiny has no durability for against Gigabyte Marines damage. What happened actually in the mid lane? Destiny did not rock the thick skin.
Oh.
On the last minute. Had it been that he managed to click the thick skin, it would turn things around for Direwolves, because the suggestion here is the flank would be handled by Churnfire, whereas the front line would be on Chipsies and of course Destiny. Meanwhile, the back line would be on Fantix and King. It was a nice plan actually. You burn the Chaos Storm in the gravity field using Destiny and Chipsies. But again, mechanical mistake there by Destiny.
You know,
that press of the thick skin.
Regardless, this is actually very interesting here. I'm actually quite interested in seeing just how Direwolves will respond to this now that they're in a position wherein it's crazy, because if we're going to be talking about the gold lead here like 5 to 6 minutes earlier, it was like literally within the hundreds to about 1,000.
Yeah.
But now, finally, we're seeing something a lot more definitive, leaning towards the 5,000 to 6,000 to Gigabyte Marines. So again, just that one explosive fight really set the tone, really changed things.
Okay, so another tanky item coming in from Chippy is gonna go for this longsword, and of course you have the BF sword as well. My guess, I'm trying to read actually what would be the next item, but it really feel lethality. I really doubt it would be lethality.
But yeah, I mean, regardless.
The
Look at how decisive this Gigabyte Marines definitely sticking to the game plan, forcing Direwolves into a more defensive position. You know, they really don't want in on losing another inhibitor, because if they do, then this just sets them back like so much that whatever equal ground that they had with Gigabyte Marines earlier, especially right now, technically they're not even on equal ground anymore. It'll just widen and widen that. I don't think with the composition that they have, they'd really be able to withstand such aggressive power from Gigabyte Marines.
And this is now a good read here by Gigabyte Marines. There is the Yordle Snaptrap wall in the bot lane. So all they need to do is actually continue pressuring the mid lane, whereas that allow the remaining members of Gigabyte Marines to chip into this inhibitor turret. Let's see, ladies and gentlemen, top of the backstairs, also the gravity field that allowed a double kill coming in from Norway. Make that a triple kill, a quadra, ladies and gents, and it's only the last member that sets up the first pentakill for the Rift Rivals. Is that a pentakill? No, not yet. It's GPs as well, managed to escape. I was too excited. But yeah, nonetheless, that should be the finisher for the Gigabyte Marines. Wow, it's almost
absolutely crazy. But then again, even with the hashtag Penta denied, still congratulations to the Gigabyte Marines landing it for the GPL first
teleported out, no? What a freaking cheesy play, man.
Right.
I mean, your base was about to be destroyed.
Right.
And you teleported out.
Oh man, that was absolutely crazy, but still, nonetheless, there we go. We have the winners, of course, performing on the stage right now. Gigabyte Marines, about, really good camaraderie at the end of the day, sportsmanship, just going for the handshake with the peeps from Direwolves right here. But then again, of course, this is good news for the Garena Premier League, because this does set them one step where, again, it's all about the glory for Rift Rivals right now to really go the next level. So we'll just have to see. Again, it's all about Ascension Gaming and Mineski. Will they be able to perform themselves to pick up the win?
And
have to see.
It's actually, as we mentioned, learning something from the different regions here. If there's one thing I learned from OPL, they would, drop defending their base.
Right.
And teleport out just so they deny you of the pentakill.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no pentakill. No.
You can have my base. You can have my base, but no pentakill.
Just
okay?
That small, that would have been like the cherry on top.
Yeah, I was looking for the Fiora, because the only way to go is actually go back to your fountain. But instead of going for the fountain, actually went for the path that would not be predicted, and that would be just walk away then teleport.
Right. Man. But still, nonetheless, of course, looking at that game, let's just go ahead and do a quick recap. Again, like we mentioned, it's that calm before the storm that happened. Both teams just kind of waiting on that right opportunity, that one explosive fight. So again, this is a very classic pro game that we're seeing here, wherein the patience really manifesting into that one big fight that really tilted things towards the Gigabyte Marines' favor. And again, Direwolves realizing that they were in that position wherein they couldn't really get that comeback. They were really forced into a more responsive position at the point. Plus that Baron take from Gigabyte Marines, pretty much just Gigabyte Marines really capitalizing on their win conditions to the T.
Yes, very true, ladies and gents. That is just our first game. We have our next set of games here on Rift Rivals. Witness the very best, clash between the regions here. LJL, OPL, and of course, GPL. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been your shoutcasters for this game. I am Shimbu with the 1, 4, and I. And of course, with me is my partner, Coach Arctic. Ladies and gents, we'll proceed to our next game after this quick break, and just stay right there.